everyone to the files, where we expose the truth about both sides of the release of the Epstein files. I'm Ethan J, and this is my co-host Nick Duncan. Before we get into the debate, let's make sure all of our listeners know what's going on. Nick, give us a quick rundown. Who even is Epstein? What are the files, and how are they created?
Well, to answer your question, Ethan, let me text a good friend of mine, Donald J. Trump. What's this? It seems that I'm getting a call. It looks like he wants to do a live FaceTime appearance for our podcast. Let me answer him real fast. Hello, Trump. What do you have to say? What do you have to say for our podcast?
Epstein, great guy. I knew him. Very popular. Everybody loved him. Turns out, not so great. Terrible. The worst, actually. He was doing very bad things to a very young girl, which is disgraceful. And I said from the beginning, I told everybody, he had a deal with the government. A beautiful deal for him. Not for us. Very unfair deal. 2008, and he got away with it. For years. Then we caught him well. Well, not me personally, but we caught him. 2019, big arrest. Very dramatic. And then he died in jail, which some people are saying, a lot of people are saying, very smart people are saying wasn't suicide. I don't know. I wasn't there. The files. And these are massive files. Probably the biggest files ever. Nobody has seen these files. This big government has them, and people want to see them. And frankly, so do I. Maybe. We'll see what happens.
Well, that was something. Well, Ethan, to answer your additional question about the files themselves, basically over the course of multiple investigations spanning almost 2 decades, the FBI and Department of Justice collected an enormous amount of material. We're talking early police reports from Palm Beach, recordings of victim interviews, internal DOJ emails, flight logs, photographs, videos, grand jury transcripts, everything investigators gathered while building their case against Epstein. And as I stated, these files were investigated over 2 decades ago, which kind of brings up the question, why are they even relevant anymore?
Well, the reason this is still in the files, Nick, is because there are documents, court docs, flight logs, names that have either been sealed or only partially released. People deserve to know what happened, who committed the crimes, and who knows what. So Nick, who all is involved in the files?
All right, well, let's run through some of the big names of who was involved in the files. We've got Prince Andrew. He was arrested. Of course, got Donald Trump. Over 38 references in the files, and the FBI described the information about him as salacious. I don't even know what that means. Bill Clinton, his name shows up repeatedly, mostly in passing. You got Elon Musk. He emailed Epstein asking what night at his island would be the wildest party. He previously claimed he always refused Epstein's invitations, but obviously that can't be true. And Bill Gates, he had a long relationship with Epstein going back to the 90s. Epstein allegedly blackmailed him over an affair, and Gates confirmed the affair in 2026. And those are just some of the big names that were in the files. I mean, there's lots of other people as well, but those are the ones that would really splash media headlines if they were leaked and actual convicting evidence was found. And, well, knowing that all these names are here, why should we release the files? Like, what purpose would it really serve?
Well, I think Dave Min said it perfectly. In his It's Time to Release the Epstein Files and Stop Protecting Pedophiles, he says, we cannot survive as a democracy if there is a set of rules for the elite and another for the rest of us. And he's right. If we don't have equal rules to follow, regardless of wealth or power, can we even call ourselves a democracy?
That's right! Similar to that, the release of the files would expose a crucial flaw in our government and shows how something like this can cause the government trust ratings to plummet. According to The Nation and its coverage of Representative Ro Khanna, he says only 22% of Americans currently trust that their leaders will do what's right, and the withholding of the Epstein files is a starting point to fix that, and I totally agree. If the government can show that they hold even the most powerful people accountable, public trust will increase greatly.
On top of that as well, the victims and vulnerable need to be protected. The release of the files will help bring justice to the victims. It exposes abuse to, again, protect the vulnerable, as I said. And I think Jennifer Storm, in her What's in the Epstein Files and Why the Release Matters, says it perfectly. She said that the files are also a strong reminder that no person, regardless of connection or wealth, is above accountability, which I think is a great point.
Well, if truly released, how much convincing evidence would the Epstein files actually have on those involved, as listed earlier?
Well, the FBI already came out and said that the client list that Attorney General Pam Bondi claimed to have on our desk, it doesn't exist. So right away, the most hyped piece of evidence people are waiting for might just not be there. And yeah, there's flight logs, phone records, but here's the thing. Being connected to Epstein isn't the same as being guilty of anything. A lot of powerful people knew him as financial clients or just social contacts. Without testimony tying someone to actual crimes, a name on a list means almost nothing legally. Well, now that we've covered all the reasons supporting a release of the files, what might be some reasons why people would be against it?
There have been a lot of arguments against the release of the files, with some of the main sources being the CSE Institute, Lawfare Media, and Rest Property News. First of those being that they're technically protected under the law, and you can't just give away all that information. It's kind of federal property, so they are the ones that get to decide it. It's not public information. And on top of that, releasing the files wouldn't actually stop any conspiracy theories, but would instead act as a catalyst for new ones. Take my dad, for example. He likes to yap about Epstein and all the grand Israel theories all the time. That's just who he is as a person. And even more, they have a list of all the clients, but a client list means nothing without testimonies. It's just a list of people the guy knew. They can't just arrest random people for that. It's not the Civil War. I mean, there's laws, there's rights of the accused, stuff like that. And one of the big ones is if they just threw all the files out for everyone to see, there's no censoring. And a lot of the victims and those that were abused and actually experienced trauma and stuff, they don't just want their information going out there. I mean, they have PTSD and horrors from their past. They don't want everyone knowing what happened to them. So there's lots of strange factors for why they can't just give the files to everyone. And now that we've seen both sides of the argument, why haven't we seen a full release yet? And what is the point of redacting the files?
Oh, true. If we release them, it's likely to have vast impacts on the government. For instance, more people will resign from office, conspiracy theories versus actual judicial action will spike, those not held accountable will face severe reputation damage, and the entire system will lose trust in itself and crumble. Well, but in my opinion, the release of the Epstein files is kind of hard. I mean, there are so many things that could go wrong with releasing them, but truly, I think they should be released. I mean, there are so many important figures that, can we even trust them if they're there? I mean, they've committed such heinous activities on that island with Epstein, and I don't know personally if I can trust our government with that.
I agree with what you said. It would be a complicated matter to release the files, but me personally, I think we should just burn Little St. James Island to the ground. I mean, there's so much trauma and just disgusting government action that's gone there. All these crimes and all these people involved. I think they should all go to jail, and I think it'll take a toll on the system. But I think the system needs a reform. I mean, with how expensive gas prices are and the war in Iran, there's obvious problems going on right now. And throwing this in here to just crash everything and rebuild from scratch, I think it's a good idea. Now back to my host, Ethan, with the final closing statements of our podcast, The Files.
You know, we've cried our tears and we laughed our laughs, but at the end of the day, the Epstein files is a very sensitive topic, and we hope that all of you guys listening take it seriously. I hope that I see none of you on the files, and have a nice day.
God bless Trump.